Because everything that I saw or heard about romantic love, especially in my adolescent years and early 20s, it was all taboo. Don't, can't, stop. Thou shalt not. And listen, or as I like to say, since Brown Sugar Beach has been in my life, come sit with me. Welcome to Peace Place. Birthed from the heart of the Black woman's experience, still BWWP, baby. Bold, inclusive, and healing. What began as one woman's voice to her sister nieces has grown into a gathering space where everyone is welcomed, seen, and included. Here, we honor the roots while widening the circle. I'm your favorite podcast host, Tracy Mack. Let's journey in peace together. Love songs have always fascinated me, but not because I understood love, because I didn't. Because everything I was hearing about love seemed to come with warning labels. Well, hey, y'all. It's Tracy Mack of the BWWP, Black Women's World Podcast. Whether you know me as Peace Place for me, this podcast area with Tracy Mack, or if you know me from my gratitude list or as a coach, author, and now a novelist. Welcome and thank you. Thank you all for being patient with me while I had to take a little respite time between podcasts because life was lifing, health was healthing. But as Stevie Wonder would say, here I am, baby, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. So thank you, whether you're a family member, a dear friend, an acquaintance, one of my sorors, or someone who's followed my work up closer from a distance over the years. Maybe someone who saw me in a crowd and we exchanged information. Or maybe, and you haven't heard my name until today, I'm Tracy Mack, and I am genuinely glad that you are here. And one thing I always hope that no matter what medium I use, that you always feel seen, heard, valued, welcomed, and like you belong, because you do. That's always been my heart. So when I say come sit with me for a little while, that's me as a life coach, someone who offers chaplain and pastoral care services, a spiritual counselor for over 20 years, an author, a conflict resolution specialist, mental health advocate, podcaster, and now novelist. But my work has never just been about books. It's always been about people. Books are simply one of the ways I get to love on people and show them that I see them. So again today, come sit with me. As the late, great Toni Morrison once said, I wrote my first novel because I wanted to read it. And that vibes with me in so many ways. And let me tell you how music, the beach, therapy, faith, imagination, and a whole lot of life became my new novel called Brown Sugar Beach. And maybe somewhere in the story, you'll recognize a little of your own story. And like I said, I'm so grateful. And I always like to thank people for showing up. Those who have pre-ordered the book, who bought it online, shared a post, texted me encouragement, recommended it to someone else. And those of you who have written reviews, thank you. You just don't know how much it means to an independent author for reviews to come in. And please keep them coming. Those of you who have prayed for me or simply believe I could do this, thank you. Thank you so much. People have asked me so far, Brown Sugar Beach is just a couple of months old, but where did Brown Sugar Beach come from? And most people think I'm going to point to the beach. Some may think I'm going to say therapy. Others may think I'm going to say the character showed up in a dream. But truth is, there would be no Brown Sugar Beach without music. You remember the old song, Must Be the Music. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have fun with you or without you. But while I'm talking today, I'm going to have fun because I can. That locked jaw had my jaw jacked up. Say that again, Tracy. That locked jaw had my jaw jacked up. But music is always in my head, or as India Ari would sing, you're always in my head, you're always in my head, like a cool breeze on a summer's day. I'm going to let her sing the rest of it because she can sing it. But music gave me permission to imagine long before I gave myself permission to write. Every chapter has a rhythm. Every conversation has a cadence. And some scenes were just written while one song played over and over again for an hour or so, because I wasn't trying to describe an emotion. I was trying to write what I heard, translate the song into story. And that's why I included a playlist in the book. It isn't just decoration. It's part of the storytelling. Some people read with their eyes. Some people read with their ears. And if you know someone who doesn't read novels, or you know somebody who says, I don't read fiction, I just tell you to listen to the playlist. Close your eyes. Imagine. Because before there was a manuscript, there was music. When I was very young, before my parents got good and saved, our home was filled with music. Both my parents loved music. My dad used to be a DJ. Music like from the Temptations, the Shy-Lights, Little Stevie Wonder, and Grown Stevie Wonder. The Jackson 5, the OJs, Teddy Pendergrass, Dionne Warwick, Nancy Wilson, Nat King Cole. And those artists weren't just singing songs. They were telling stories in 3 to 4 minutes, especially those songs that came with a monologue prior. And I didn't know it then, but they were teaching me storytelling, teaching me longing, teaching me pacing, teaching me hope. And then my parents gave their life to Christ and got good and saved. And baby, the soundtrack in our home changed. You know, like a needle drags across an album. Secular or worldly music, as people say, or some people say the blues music, walked out. And in walked James Cleveland, Thomas Dorsey, Walter Hawkins, Andre Crouch, the Clark Sisters, Tremaine Hawkins, Mississippi Mass Choir, New Jersey Mass Choir, Five Blind Boys, the Highway QCs. But hold up, truth be told, I never cared much for quartets, because when I was little and we would go to a singing, it seemed like every single time one of them dudes from the quartet would be trying to push up on my mama, and she would be trying to scoot away from him and tell him she was married, even though my daddy wasn't going to church back then. And they'd scoot her all the way back to the car, and I'd just be standing there listening, like, leave my mama alone. She's trying to get away from me. But anyway, my daddy started going to church probably because of that. But anyway, much later. But when they got saved, secular music disappeared from our house. And if you weren't singing to, for, or about Jesus, it was worldly. But I still loved that music. It still lived and danced in my little mind, in my head. So when I became about maybe 12 or 13, when everybody was asleep, I turned my little clock radio on. You know, the ones that had the wood grain across the top and the lines where the little speaker sat. And I'd lay my face on that speaker all night long. I'd put the cover over my head, lay my face on that speaker until when I woke in the morning, I had the lines that had been impressed in my face. My mom said, what's that on your face? And I put my hand up close to my face. Oh, nothing. Because I'd listened to music all night long. But what songs would play in the evening? If you all remember who used to listen to radio, the songs that played in the evening were slow jams or The Quiet Storm. And I'd listen to Q97 FM out of New Bern, North Carolina. Songs like Tender Love by the Force MDs, Sweet Love by Anita Baker, Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye, Outstanding by the Gap Band. And that would come on during the day because, you know, we love that beat. Charlie Wilson would still hit it. He still hits it now. Or Make It Last Forever by Keith Sweat. Or You Give Good Love to Me, Whitney Houston. Or Let's Not Hit the Isley Brothers, In Between the Sheets. Or Fire and Desire by Rick James and Tina Marie. All This Love by DeBarge. Woo! Or Two Occasions by The Deal. I only think of you on 2 occasions. Sing it, Babyface. Or Is It a Crime by Sade. And let me not even go to Patti LaBelle. Love and need and want you, baby. Or If Only You Knew. And listen, The lyrics fascinated me. And again, I didn't know what that was about because everything I heard about romantic love during those years came with a warning label. I done told you. I was going to school, to work, or to church. That was my triangle. But if you went to church and you looked at a boy for too long, sin. Or don't let a boy talk to you in the parking lot, he was sinning. And please don't stand beside the same boy or girl twice while you're in the choir stand. Definitely sin. And keeping it real as a little girl, like I said, when I saw grown folks love, it didn't look appealing. Sometimes it looked unfair. It looked heavy. It looked like it was more duty than devotion. And it often seemed like all the rules, the expectations, and the consequences rested on women, while men had the whole room, and they had a whole lot more room to roam. And even when sometimes they were the ones who made the biggest mess. I hadn't had sex, but I knew about it. And this romance thing was leading people to it. But it was all sin? How do you get to it if it's all sin in between? I couldn't reconcile it. I couldn't reconcile what I was seeing with what I was hearing in these love songs on the radio. The love songs sounded beautiful. Real life didn't always sound that way. So I'd lie there and listen and wonder, who in the world are these people singing about? And how do you ever get to a place where you can love somebody like this, so much so that you write it down and sing it? What happened before the song? Now that's the question that changed my life. Because I wasn't trying to write songs. I was trying to imagine the story that happened before the song was ever written. The pain that brought in the pleasure. So I'd sneak into my imagination and I'd write little scenes, little scenarios, little conversations, little what ifs, trying to figure out how ordinary people could arrive at such extraordinary love. I'd write the love song lyrics and the little love stories in between the interactions between human beings. And not because I'd ever experienced it, but because something deep inside of me believed it had to exist. And after I'd write it, I'd tear the pages up, ask God to forgive me, go read a scripture, pull out one of my daddy's lexicons or his Strong's Concordance, and prepare to teach children's church at 13 years old, which I did every Sunday for 5 years. And that's where my storytelling began out loud, because I had to listen to my dad's sermons on cassette tape from the Sunday service prior and create a lesson plan for the children, ages potty trained to 12 years old. And again, I was only 13, and I'd have to also give them an activity. So I made his sermons into stories. And then I'd listen to the Winans, Milton Brunson, Commission, Fred Hammond, to cleanse my sin-sick adolescent soul. Child. And then I'd go right back to writing down lyrics to love songs so I could remember them.
Stay tuned for more of the Peace Place podcast.
Let's continue the conversation. And I developed my own little code in my journal, or back then it was my diary. And I'd throw Jesus, Lord, or scripture in between the lyrics, somewhere in the middle of the love song lyrics, just in case somebody found my diary or my journal and happened to read it. Because growing up in my house, there was no privacy, no such a thing. No locked bedroom doors, no secret diaries or journals. You didn't have no business in the Jones home. None whatsoever. But here's what I realize now. I wasn't rebelling. I wasn't sinning. I was using my creativity, searching for healthy love, healing love, safe love. The kind of love that helps people become more of themselves instead of less. And one of the places that helped me keep searching for that love through my writing was Atlantic Beach in Morehead City, North Carolina. I grew up in Havelock, North Carolina, for the most part. Most of my adolescent years were in Havelock. Now, as a military child and a military spouse, I made 21 moves in my lifetime. Some were just around the corner and some were across the world. But some kind of way, I always wound up in Eastern North Carolina, Atlantic Beach area. And Havelock, which is where Cherry Point military base is only about 20 minutes away. And I have always loved the beach. Always have. But the way my skin is set up, I can't sit in direct sunlight very long. I have a sun allergy, so I blister like an allergic reaction, not just sunburn. So I learned a long time ago that I had to go to the beach before sunrise, and then I would catch the sunrise. Or I'd go to the beach late in the evening just before sunset, and I'd catch the sunset when the beach is much quieter then anyway. And when I left Winston-Salem State in 1988, I had 2 jobs, but I didn't have a car. Not yet. And so my friend Annie would say, she said, you can borrow mine if you take me to work and pick me up on time, and you got to put gas in it. And I was like, deal. So on my days off, when I could catch them in between or half days off, I'd pack my beach blanket, my boom box with plenty of D batteries, a thermos with cold water and ice in it, and some snacks. But most importantly, my pencil bag filled with pencils, pens, and my journal. and I didn't know it then, but Atlantic Beach became my very first peace place. 35, maybe 25 to 35 years long before Peace Place became my LLC and my spiritual offering for people and counseling and even in community. But there was this young woman trying to make peace with herself. I'd sit there for hours writing, even using sometimes the flashlight on my keychain when it got dark. Sometimes I'd write poetry, prayers, sometimes just questions that I couldn't ask anybody out loud. Sometimes scenarios and stories that intertwine with song lyrics. And sometimes I was writing what I'd wish someone said or what I wish someone else could hear. And sometimes I was just pouring my heart. And it was heavy, my heavy heart onto paper. And one morning, I spread my blanket out a little too close to the shoreline. And the tide started rolling in. And I ran because I was trying to still get some things situated out of my beach bag. And when I reached down to grab my blanket before it got soaked, both hands plunged right into the wet sand. And when I looked down at my hands, the sand, I thought, that looks like light brown sugar. And I can still see that moment in my mind right now. And that was probably like 1989. And when I got myself situated, I wrote 3 words in my journal. Or should I say, they weren't 3 words, but I wrote this. I wrote, brown sugar on the beach. And no. I didn't write the novel then. I wasn't ready, not back then. But I planted the seed. And sometimes that's all God asks us to do. Plant the seed. And around that same time frame in my life, when I would sit out on the beach, either early in the morning especially, and sometimes walk the shoreline, I'd see other people out there walking the shoreline with metal detectors, searching for coins, jewelry, anything valuable that someone else had lost. And most people looked at like they were trying to find treasures. But I thought about the people who lost their treasure, and I wondered, who lost it? Were they sad they lost it? Did they even know it was gone? Were they still looking for it? Or had they already given up? And it reminded me because many years after that, Owen and I and some family members and some church members, that we used to have a good old time with. We went down to the beach one night, or late in the evening into the night. And during that time, some kind of way, Owen lost our car key. And I had the car key the copy I had was in our car. So when he lost the key, a couple of other people had their cars there too. But when he lost the key at night, it was like, oh my God. But we went back out there near to where our blankets had been, and chairs. And we were looking everywhere with our then, those people who did have their keychains with a flashlight on it. And miraculously, my brother-in-law found that key. But while we were searching, I found something else. Now, I had recently taken my nephews and some little girls who were like nieces to me to go see The Little Mermaid. And I started thinking like Ariel when I would see lost things on the beach, or she called them thingamabobs. And I'd think, what's the story of the person who lost it? And that question never left me. Questions have always fascinated me more than answers. Maybe that's why I became a coach or a spiritual counselor. And maybe that's why I provide pastoral care and chaplain services. Maybe that's why I became a conflict resolution specialist. Or maybe that's why I became an author, or now a novelist. Because stories often begin with questions, not answers. Life kept moving. And over the years, I had the privilege of walking alongside hundreds of people who trusted me with some of the heaviest chapters of their lives: marriage struggles, grief, abuse, rejection, family conflict, church hurt, identity, dreams that they buried, pain that they carried for decades, and transitions of all sorts, and even deconstruction. I'd often finish a coaching session or a counseling conversation and realize I can't carry this home, and I can't carry it in my mind or in my heart because this weight doesn't belong to me. So after I'd hang up or leave the room, or they'd leave the room, sometimes I'd break out my little notebook and I'd sit down and write, not about the client, but I'd imagine a healthier ending. I'd imagine reconciliation, healing. What would that look like in grace or in an embrace, literal and figuratively? A conversation that could have gone much differently. Someone finally being heard, someone finally choosing peace, receiving and finding or experiencing unexpected love or unconditional love. And writing continued to be therapeutic for me that way. It helped me leave what wasn't mine, even from childhood, on the page, instead of carrying it into my heart's home, into my body like I once had. And sometimes while I was writing, a song would come to mind, not because I was trying to write about the song, but because songs are always in my head. And music has always known how to hold emotions and words, sometimes when words can't carry themselves being spoken. And music has always been, and it was my first best friend, and it has still continued to be a friend. And somehow it always could sing what sometimes words can't always say perfectly. And that's why I tell people Brown Sugar Beach isn't just inspired by music. Music is woven into its DNA. If you skip the playlist, you're skipping part of the conversation.
Stay tuned for more of the Peace Place podcast.
Let's continue the conversation. Over the years, I've had journals filled with partial scenes, loose sheets of paper, folders, the back of an envelope, computer files, even old laptops that eventually got replaced. And I wish I had saved all of that to show you how the story changed, shifted, and grew. I had pieces of brown sugar beets scattered everywhere, even within me. And when I finally decided to first gather myself, and then I gathered through memory much of the story, and I realized something. The story was beautiful, but it was timid. It was muted. It was safe. I was trying so hard back then not to offend anybody. So hard I was trying not to offend anybody that the story wasn't even telling its own truth. I had been writing with a pen that was still asking for permission. And permission has a way of making your voice whisper when it should sing. And something happened prior to then, over the years, let's say probably between maybe 2015 on, of growing and sharing my voice as a full-grown woman. But something specifically happened on October 31st, 2025. I was sitting with my therapist, Faith Brashard, a wonderful, brilliant, excellent Black woman, spiritual clinician, and one of the gifts God placed in my life. And we weren't talking about writing a novel. We were talking about healing, about how throughout my life, writing has always been therapeutic for me. Writing helped me process my own grief, health challenges, conflict, trauma, religious oppression, abuse, neglect, questions, disappointment, joy, celebrations. Writing had always been one of the ways God met me. Some people sing, some people paint, some people dance. I write. And somewhere in that conversation with my therapist, Faith, and that's her name, not just an attribute, she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Tracy, I think it's time you write with your grown woman imagination and your mature woman's voice." Whew. That sentence sat with me. I said, and left the conversation. I didn't even entertain it in my mind for a few days, and I didn't share it with my lips for maybe 3 or 4 days. And I told my husband. And sometimes I don't tell him nothing, not because I'm hiding anything, but first of all, I can keep what I want to myself, but I wasn't hiding anything. I just needed to sit with it and process it. And then I already knew him. I know Owen. The minute I open my mouth, he's going to ask me a question that I'll try to avoid. So when you going to publish it? And I don't want to hear it. And you know what? When I told him, right on cue, trying to snap my fingers, right on cue, he said, "So when you going to publish it?" I wasn't thinking about publishing it. I was thinking about writing. And he was already talking about the finish line, asking him about book covers. But that's one of the gifts he's given to me after over 32 years of marriage, enduring. Every time I say something, he's ready to meet me at the finish line, blind, before I can even take the first step. And then a few days after that, I called my high school friend, my Winston-Salem State roommate and fellow author, who has, in my world, been my shero in the world of authorship. And I said, "Trice, I think I'm finally going to write my manuscript, finish it, and rewrite it and overhaul it." And she didn't hesitate. She said, "Tracy, write it now. Not next year, not when life settles down, not when you have more time, write it now." And I took her advice as sage wisdom. And I did. And when I tell you I did, I wrote. When I say I wrote between work, doctor's appointments, between sickness, being a long distance caregiver in the sandwich generation, my daughter on one end, my parents on the other, between holiday season, between everyday life, 10, sometimes 12, 14 hours, sometimes all night long, 7 days a week, I wrote something. Because when something grabs hold of me like that creatively, it doesn't leave me alone. It'll speak to me in my sleep, and it did. But, it keeps pulling me until it first blesses me and then changes me. And only then do I share it. And even then, it's like who, when, where, what, why, being very sensitive. And that's true whether it's a lesson, whether I'm preparing for a workshop, recording a podcast like this one, or writing a novel in this case. I don't ever want to hand people something that I haven't allowed first to flow through and work on me. The little love scenarios that I used my imagination to heal others' traumas that I'd been writing for decades, I realized had been waiting for one another. Almost like they'd been scattered across time, like those pages and files and old laptops, until I became and chose to be the woman out loud, because I had been her quietly in personal relationships and even with some of my close professional relationships. But I'm like, with the world, I'm capable of being her. And now I got to introduce her to the world. Some of those scenes were so beautiful. They made me laugh. They made me cry. Some needed to be thrown away. And some needed to grow up and freely feel aroused by all of my senses. And sharing that with other people so they could experience it just like I did. Because I felt like, wow, what if someone else felt this or read this and felt rest, saw themselves in the story, sees their relatives and friends in this experience? And it lived in me. The story lived in me. And I was like, oh my goodness. While the story is living in me, the woman who could finally tell it, share that part of my imagination, was fully grown and ready. Was she? When I finally completed what I felt was a true manuscript, I wasn't thinking about bestseller lists. I wasn't thinking about awards. I wasn't thinking about Barnes & Noble book signings or anywhere else that Brown Sugar Beach may take me. To tell you the gospel truth, I was just going to keep it. I was going to keep it and let it be my 57th birthday gift to myself. A dream fulfilled, a childhood promise kept without the oppression and the suppression of religion and opinion of other people. It was just proof to myself that the little girl who used to hide love stories in her journals and diaries had finally finished one. And that was enough for me. And before I put it away, I thought, let me see if this is speaking to just me or anyone else. So I sent it out to 4 trusted beta readers, and then later 2 additional ones who became highly recommended. And then I did something that stretched me. I submitted excerpts anonymously to a critique group. Nobody knew it was me. Nobody knew I was already an author. The only thing they knew and saw was the writing. And I wanted it that way because I needed to know if the story could stand on its own. The feedback surprised me. And not because everyone loved everything. They didn't. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful everyone didn't. Because good feedback doesn't stroke your ego. It strengthens your work. And every thoughtful comment made the story stronger. And then came line editing. Jessica Tillis is my editor. Lord have mercy. Then proofreading. Double Lord have mercy. Because anybody who has ever written a book knows you send your manuscript off thinking, this is it. Then your editor, Jessica, sends it back looking like it lost a fight. Red marks everywhere. Lord have mercy. I was like, I shouldn't have wrote nothing. But editors don't diminish your voice. Like I've shared many times writing my first fiction novel, and I've shared with Jessica. She took what I had written as my own jazz improvisations took my work and translated it into sheet music that everybody can read. And so good editors, they help you hear it more clearly. And so by the time editing was finished, all I could do was laugh and cry. I questioned myself, Lord knows. Second guessed myself. I prayed. I closed the laptop, opened it again, wondered, oh my God, is anybody going to read it? What if I embarrass myself? Or what do people think? Especially Tracy, you're clergy. What you doing writing nonfiction romance? What you doing writing fiction romance? Stick to nonfiction. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls. But fear sat right there. And fear has a funny way of trying to convince you that staying hidden is safer than being seen.
Stay tuned for more of the Peace Place podcast.
Let's continue the conversation. But fear stops talking as soon as I stopped giving it my imagination and my ideas. And maybe you felt that way. Maybe you know what that feels like. Maybe it isn't writing for you. Maybe it's starting a business, going back to school, leaving something unhealthy, trusting again after heartbreak. Whew. Saying yes to a dream that's patiently waited for years or decades. Fear has 1,000 different voices, but courage only needs one. Courage simply says, take the next step. And that's what I did. The next step, one page, one chapter, one rewrite over and over and over again. One prayer at a time. Until one day, the little girl with the clock radio, the young woman on the beach, the chaplain who offers pastoral care, the coach, the therapist's client, the wife, the daughter, the friend, the mother, the soror, the dreamer, all met each other in one story. And that story became Brown Sugar Beach. And people have asked me, is Brown Sugar Beach your story? The answer is no. But pieces of my heart are woven throughout its pages. Pieces of me are woven in through each character. My love for music, my love for the beach, my love for community, my love and desire for family, my belief that healing is possible, my belief that friendship can help save us, my belief that laughter begins in the middle of the heartbreak, my belief that after trauma, a life can experience greater pleasure exponentially, my belief that love doesn't always answer every question, but it can give us the courage to keep asking. And maybe that's why I wanted to write fiction, because my other 3 nonfiction books prepared me for this. My first one, The Book of Purpose, I needed to understand my purpose before I could write. My second one, Relationship, Nothing But the Truth, I needed to understand my relationships so I could write, including the relationship with myself. And then my last nonfiction, Thought Systems, I needed to understand my own way of thinking before I could allow myself to jump into my divine imagination and create. And that's why I wanted to write fiction, because fiction allows us to tell the truth without having to tell all our business. Oh, Lord, I've cracked myself up sometimes. The people in Brown Sugar Beach are fictional, but the emotions are real. The hope is real. The healing is real. The longing is real. And the questions are real. And without giving the story away, I'll simply tell you this. Brown Sugar Beach isn't just about romance. It's about what happens when people who have survived life begin believing they deserve to live it? What happens when they stop settling, when they start healing, when they risk trusting again? When they discover that love isn't just something you receive, sometimes it's something you finally allow yourself to recognize and experience. And that may be why some readers, I got readers from their 20s to their 80s reading Brown Sugar Beach, women and men. And some have reached out to tell me how much of themselves they see somewhere in the pages. They see their family, their friends. And that means more to me than a ranking or award ever could. Because that's why I wrote it. Not so people would see me, but so people would see themselves. I've been asked, what genre is Brown Sugar Beach? I usually say contemporary fiction, women's fiction, a love story, but keeping it all the way real, I think it's a 366-page love song. Because there would be no Brown Sugar Beach without music. Music is a heartbeat. It's why every chapter has rhythm. It's why you'll find a playlist woven throughout the novel. The songs aren't just there to fill space. They're there because they help me write. Some unlock memories. Some help me find the character's voice. Some stayed on repeat for hours while I worked through a difficult scene. Some simply danced in the background while I wrote. So don't skip the playlist. Read a chapter, then maybe listen to a song, another chapter, then another song, if you choose. And let the music and the story dance together if you like. And if you don't read fiction, or you know someone who says they don't, tell them to start with a playlist. Close their eyes. Listen. Imagine. Because that's how the novel began. Long before there was a manuscript, long before there was a publisher, long before there was a Barnes & Noble book signing, long before I show up anywhere else the journey of this book takes me, there was a little black girl, the clock radio, a journal, and a head full of questions and music, trying to imagine what healthy love might look like or sound like or feel like. I'm grateful that I never stopped wondering. I'm grateful that somewhere along the way she grew into a woman who finally gave herself permission to write in her own voice. Not the voice fear handed her, not the voice religion tried to confine, not the voice other people's expectations tried to edit, but her own. People have spent years telling me I was too sacred to be secular, and others have said I was too secular to be sacred. Today, none of that bothers me because I found God's sweet spot. I'm not in somebody else's box. It's in becoming the whole person God created me to be. I believe all truths belong to God. I believe the kingdom of God is within me. I believe beauty belongs to God, healing belongs to God, love belongs to God. All the 5 senses belong to God. Sensuality and sexuality belongs to God. And every good gift, including imagination, is a gift from God. So this book is not a departure from my life's work. It's an extension of it. Whether I stand behind a pulpit, sit across from someone counseling, coaching, teaching conflict resolution, doing a training, advocating for mental health, wellness, recording a podcast, writing a novel, I'm still Tracy. I'm always Tracy, always going to be Tracy. I'm doing the same thing. So all of those become my sacred desk. All of those become my secular offering. I'm doing the same thing. I'm helping people feel seen, helping people feel heard, helping people feel understood and valued. Helping people remember they are not alone. And if you listen to this and leave here remembering nothing else, I hope you remember this. Whatever dream you're carrying, whatever chapter you have convinced yourself is over, whatever part of yourself you've hidden because you thought it was too much or not enough, it may simply be waiting for your grown woman voice or your grown man voice. It may simply be waiting for you to stop asking permission. It may be waiting for you to believe it's never too late. Thank you. Not just for listening, not just for buying a book. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for letting me share part of my journey. Thank you for allowing Brown Sugar Beach to become part of yours. Now, I'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to email me at iamtracymack@gmail.com, if you'd like to follow me at iamtracymack on Instagram, or Tracy Mack Peace Place on Instagram, or Tracy Mack on Facebook, I'd love to see you there. And if you have a question, ask. You can ask me about the writing process, the characters, the music, publishing, faith, therapy, what surprised you the most, or what surprised me the most, or anything you may be curious about. And if I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you I don't know. And if there's something I don't want to answer, I won't. I'm Tracy Mack. I love you. Much love and peace. I'm grateful, and I love y'all for real. Thank you for spending time with me at Peace Place. This is an inclusive space where we honor the wisdom of Black women while welcoming every heart ready to heal and flourish. To my sister Nistas and to all of you who are part of this circle, you belong here. Until next time, rest is resistance, joy is resistance, and peace is your birthright. Stay rooted, stay included. I'm grateful and I love y'all for real. Much love and peace.